You guys, this is my friend Paola, and she has a lot she wants to share with us, or I have a lot of questions I want to ask her. But first, Paola, remind me, how did we even become friends? Because I was just trying to remember and I can't remember.
I remember the first time we talked on the phone, I was super starstruck, super.
Oh, right.
People say that to me sometimes too, and I'm like, oh, no, don't say that. But I don't
It's
remember
weird.
how. It had to do with homeopathy, and I was mopping my floor, like mopping my house floor, talking to you on the phone, like with my little headphones or whatever.
So, but don't you think it's been a couple years or so?
Oh, it's longer because I talked to you before I even knew I was going to move, and I've been here in Hungary for going on 3 years.
Oh, that's right. So tell everyone, why are you there?
My husband's work has uprooted us once again, and so we're here in Hungary, and we'll be heading home this spring.
Really?
And
For sure?
yeah, for sure.
I didn't know that.
I don't have a date yet, but for sure. Because, anyways, for sure.
Give everyone just a little bit more about your background and, just tell us, what led you to homeopathy, and maybe share some of your homeopathy successes.
Okay. Well, I think, right now, a lot of people know me because I'm president of Americans for Homeopathy Choice, and we're defending we're advocating for our access to homeopathy, and that takes up a tremendous amount of time. I don't get paid for that role, but it is something I'm very passionate about, and it's really a service to my fellow man because I think we should have access to homeopathy. A little bit about how I came into homeopathy is, so my family and I, we have a home in Texas, we homestead, we have a cow that we milk. I was very big into Weston A. Price type food eating, though I was very intolerant to them because I had all these autoimmune diseases. One of the most significant autoimmune diseases I suffered from is called Interstitial Cystitis, and it was just chronic bleeding of the bladder. It was not a UTI because the cultures are always clean, and that's what's so tricky about it, because doctors will check your urine. Oh, there's blood, therefore you have a UTI, therefore here's antibiotics. And I got put on a lot of antibiotics.
Oh.
Then they diagnosed me with this chronic inflammation of the bladder, and the options they gave me were pretty horrifying. Actually, there's a really cool tie-in that I just recently found out to the beginning of my journey that kind of brought it full circle. So I went to my doctors, Kelly, and they said, okay, here's a pill that might make all your hair fall out. It'll turn your urine blue. This is the best, this was the best treatment they had. And I just, this is why I think it's so important to like develop a sense of logical thinking, because I was just like, that seems like it would make me sicker with a new problem, hair loss. Like that's +1. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, that doesn't sound good. So I was like, well, what other options do you have? And she was like, well, we have, this nerve block that we can snip the nerve to your bladder so you don't really feel it anymore. And I'm like, oh, that also sounds like, disease 2, Paola 0. I'm like, that's not working for me. And then she was like, well, we can also take, put you on opioid painkillers, but I make all my girls join a support group for the addiction they're going to develop.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I'm like, that's like disease 10, Paola 0 or negative, I'm like, now I'm going to have an addiction. I didn't even drink soda pop, and I wasn't very crunchy at this point. I was starting to wake up a little bit to diet because gluten made everything way worse. So stuff like that was waking up to. This is around the time where I became very into Weston A. Price type eating. So I turned it all down. We spent $30,000, credit card debt, flew the country, California, Arizona, Mayo Clinic, everywhere trying to get help. Nothing worked. And it was really a discouraging thing. It was just like, you walked, I know a lot of you people with chronic illness knows what this is like. You just go to another doctor with all your hopes, and it's just over and over again, you're just brokenhearted. It's really, really tough. And we went into all this debt, and then I found homeopathy, and
remind me, what were your main symptoms?
So I had interstitial cystitis, so chronic bleeding of the bladder, described as this. It's like lighting your bladder on fire, turning it inside out, and putting it out with a track shoe. That's what it feels like.
Oh, man. So you were in chronic pain, basically.
7 years of really low quality of life, the worst that my doctors had ever seen. Diet did control it, but I started losing the ability to digest or to have any, there's became so many triggers, and I was getting to the point where I could eat 6 ingredients safely. But that list kept narrowing down, and I started feeling like there's going to come a point where I can't even eat this. And that was really terrifying. That was really scary to me because it was like a choice between eating and having chronic pain.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I went on the autoimmune paleo diet. If anyone has ever been on that, like Hunger Games, I get it. I salute you because it's hard. And I did that for a few years. I did the full gaps, I did a lot of that stuff. But then I found homeopathy, and I've gone through different kinds of homeopathy now at this point. Right now, I pretty much strictly use classical, and it's been a good thing for me. But within a year, I was cured. I mean, maybe a few little nothings, like, this is nothing,
Wow.
like.
So what about your diet now? Can you eat a lot?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not only can I eat, but we live in Europe now, right?
Oh.
Gluten, girl. Gluten is good.
You're going to miss that, aren't you?
Well, I might be bringing several pounds of wheat home with me and a mock meal. So, but anyways, yeah, but here's the funny thing is my mom called me earlier this year, and she's like, have you heard of this drug called Elmeron? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the pill that they offered me that would gonna make all my hair fall out, and that would cause my urine to turn blue and maybe help. My mom was like, well, look at this. Class action lawsuits, Kelly, because people who are on it for about 15 years are going blind.
Oh, that is so sad because a lot of people aren't critical thinkers like you were, Paola, and they just did what their doctor said. That just makes me sick.
It makes me so sad because this condition is really difficult to live with. It's challenging. It makes intimacy hard. It makes you just like, you're like this weird person that always clocks between now and when will I have access to the bathroom next, because you can't hold your urine very well. It's and to be blind now, it's like, what? Or to have vision lost at any degree, it just breaks
That's
my heart.
heartbreaking. So that was your biggest homeopathy success, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So
no. I feel like I've had so many big ones too.
Really? Can you list just a few more big ones?
Okay, so like in the case of acute care, like acute stuff, which is I think fabulous for moms to do. Yeah. Fabulous.
So easy.
Like I call it I shouldn't say that. This is probably a family show. It's like quick and pleasuresome and fast, and you get the results, and it's fantastic. So you can imagine what I was going to say. But yeah, I had this experience where my son was downstairs earlier this year. It was after New Year's, and apparently one of our rocket firework things we had not seen. It was like behind the door, tucked away.
I remember this. Yes.
And he pretended to light it. And funny how matches and flames and those things are quite flammable near fuse, and he lit it in the living room on his own. It shot out of his hand. I mean, it could have, it could have been very dangerous, but it shot under the couch, exploded. Like it was like a little war zone downstairs. There's smoke and phosphorus, the smell and everything. He comes to me just in a full blown panic. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to give you some. And he also felt terrible, which made me happy. But we used, the right remedies for the shock, for the pain, for the burn. And that wound, it was like it was near 3rd degree. It was definitely 2nd degree because his hand looked like burnt chicken. Like we rinsed, and I thought all the black would just rinse off because I thought ashes or soot kind of makes your hand black.
Right.
Some of it, washed off, but most of it was just burnt flesh. And
was your heart like thumping so fast and hard?
You know what it was definitely thumping really hard and fast. I tend to get very calm and logical, like military a little bit in those situations. So I think I appeared calm and collected. But the thing is, it's because I've been learning about homeopathy for so long that it's like all this stuff was like muscle memory to me. It's like I didn't have to open a book. That would have been overwhelming. Yeah. It's like I just needed to decide which one I needed to give him first, which is different from what do I do? But even then I called a couple friends, one friend in particular, to kind of help me like, okay, I'm a little stressed, help me think this through. And we kind of talked it out. But his hand healed like beautifully within a week. I will tell you this, in 45 minutes, Kelly, of giving him the first remedy, pain was 110. After 45 minutes, I'm looking at him, he's calm, he's looking at his hand, and I'm like, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your pain? And he's like, 0. And I'm like, okay, yay, homeopathy works. Tell me really, what is your pain level? And I'm like, stop being nice. And he was like, no, really, Mom, it's 0. If I move it, if I move my hand, it hurts a bit. But if I just keep it still, it's fine.
Wow. So he's a believer, for sure.
Oh, all my kids are. My whole family is. It's not even it's like, it's gone beyond belief. It's gone to the place of, I'm an imperialist to some degree. Meaning I got to know for myself, and my family is there too. They know. It's almost like to the point where we pity people. Like, people ask me in casual settings, like, what do you do for work? I, do this advocacy work. I have this curriculum. We teach kids homeopathy. And, we get a lot of comments, oh, homeopathy is just placebo. And my kids will just be like, oh my gosh, that person's so dumb. Like, they just don't, like, it's just this level of understanding that it's almost embarrassing when someone looks so pedestrian.
Yeah, it's sad, again, because I feel like people are shutting off such a great thing. Like, they're just shut off to it.
Yeah, they are. There's a lot of things in life like that. So yeah.
Yeah. A ton. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
We both know all the eye rolls that we get, and whatever. What's tough for me is knowing who to share it with now, because people will, how it comes up in conversation, like what their ailments are or what their parents are struggling with or whatever. And I've learned to just zip it, because even if you give them a remedy and it works, this isn't a reason not to do it, but they'll try a bunch of other things, and it's never the homeopathy that did it. It's always, they think it's something else. And so they never make the connection. So it never changes their lives, and they to turn to it for future things. And so you just know that some people
I'm glad you got over that, but like, really the goal is to learn a new paradigm for life.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It's super disappointing and frustrating. I just reached a point where, like, when someone says something, I'll be like, hey, just let me know. I have some resources that could be really great for you. And if you want, and then I just leave it at that. Just like,
because they got to really be ready to delve into something new and want to learn. That's the thing too, that's frustrating for me. How many people have said they want to learn about homeopathy, and then you tell them you're offering a class that's a cheap way to learn, and they still will be too busy,
No, it's tricky. I know life is really hard, and I know we have, in this information saturated world,
so much.
We have so much thrown at us that we have to constantly choose from.
Yeah.
But it's like, what can I say? This is truly the most life-changing information, life-saving, generational thing, family strengthening. I mean, it's wonderful. And it's like, does the other things you're saying yes to meet that degree of criteria? And if it does, maybe okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's something you should be doing. So
I know I've had to just start letting it go and just not let it eat me alive, because you see people struggling and suffering, and you're like, oh. And the thing is, like, the other thing that holds me back is that I am still new at this, so I don't always know what is the best remedy for them to try. And I know that sometimes it's a slam dunk and it works almost every single time, but there's times that you have to do some trial and error, and to find the right remedy. And I know that's just it. I know with some people, they're not going to go through that. Like, they're just it'll be one and done, and they're not going to embrace it. And so that's the frustrating thing for me about homeopathy. With all the successes I have had a few times it hasn't worked, or I had to try a few different remedies, but you just know most people aren't going to go through that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is why, I know we're going to talk about this, but maybe this is a good time to bring it up. This is why I feel so strongly about teaching children this while they're young, because I really think that, we build our meaning in the world based on these foundations. And homeopathy has definitely changed my foundation for how I look at the world. I mean, even, you know, it's really, really influenced me beyond just health. And I think it's so critical for kids when they're flexible, they're young, they're creative, that they get exposed to this sooner than later, where your brain has like masticized and you're just not flexible to take that.
So ironic that your mom treated you with homeopathy when you were little, you were telling me one time.
Yes.
And then she threw it all away at one point because she kind of got into more what the world said about, you know, conventional meds and stuff. And is she back? Like, is she?
Oh, yeah. Good. She always liked it and valued it. We were immigrants from Brazil. So to my mom, homeopathy was a means to take care of her family until she and my father achieved the American dream. He graduated from university, got a real job, and we got real health insurance. And that was such a big goal for my mom that she was so relieved that she didn't have to rely on her wits. But she traded, you know, she traded a dream for a snake in some ways, because when she threw out that kit, I hadn't had any antibiotics growing up. None. I mean, maybe once. I mean, I did get my, you know, immunizations or whatever. But besides that, it was just doctor checkups. I had no cavities growing up. Like, I was really healthy. And my mom just didn't associate it to the homeopathy. And I think and then I went through all that I went through. It was after I got married, Kelly, that I started getting a lot of UTIs. Boom, 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 one after another. And that meant antibiotics. That's where I got all my antibiotics.
Isn't that normal? A lot of women have that, you know, once they become active, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And so there's a remedy for that called Staphylococcus aureus. And there's what fascinated me after I found homeopathy. I took my first remedy, and they come in little pellets. They look like little BB gun sized white pellets typically. And the one from the store that I got was about the size of a BB gun. They can be smaller. But I remember I put it in my mouth. My mom was staying with us at the time. I put that pellet in my mouth, and I had this like flashback. And I was like, Mom, I took this when I was little. I took homeopathy. And my mom was like, oh yeah, I had a whole kit. And I'm like, so, and then she says, I threw it out when we got medical insurance because, you know, we didn't need to rely on these things anymore. And so I realized there was, you know, my mom was really doing her best to take care of us, but there was a disconnect between the generation that was open to that used that, to trusting doctors, and my generation. And I find that like I was pretty active in helping my kids understand that, you know, going back to our roots, thinking for yourself, thinking logically, thinking from a scientific perspective, which is what homeopathy is. It's founded on the principle of observation, number one. And I just said, I need to help moms bridge that gap, because all of our grandmothers to some extent didn't trust the doctors, for sure, back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, you know, they knew their herbs, they knew their home remedies and things like that. Not necessarily homeopathy, but in the United States, for sure, a lot did homeopathy.
So tell us now, let's go into that more. Tell us about your new curriculum.
Okay.
And how, you know, you told us pretty much why you wanted to introduce something like this, but give us the whole story and how it's going, and then we'll talk about how they can get it.
Yeah, so before I started Americans for Homeopathy Choice, I decided I was going to work on this project, and I had been working on it for a number of years. And it was 3 years in the making. I have this, you probably understand, like I have this, I have to over deliver. I can't just halfway do it. I have to over deliver. And so I remember I wrote the curriculum in about a year. And I showed it to my friend who's, you know, veteran homeschooling mom. She actually coaches homeschoolers specifically in the Charlotte Mason method. And so I showed her my curriculum, like, it's done. And she was just like, yeah, you should really write a chapter book to go with this. And she explained it. So then that like started another, 2 years in the project. But basically it's a one-room schoolhouse approach. It's a literature-based curriculum. So you ever heard that story, The Emperor's Clothes? Okay, so when you're a kid and you hear that, you derive one message and one set of meaning. as adults, especially like think about politics and our current political climate, the emperor's new clothes, everybody running around doing what everybody says because they're scared to see the truth that you're running around naked. You know, and I just love how story meets us where we are. And so that's what a literature-based curriculum does, is it uses stories to meet your students at all their different age levels where they're at. And so so this is a literature-based curriculum. I say it's from ages 6 to 96 to teach kids about homeopathy. You follow the main character, Evie, as she goes from wondering why her grandma does things differently all the way to learning about 19 different homeopathic remedies. And the way that you can teach this is that there's a teacher's manual that if you open, it's an open and go curriculum, open to lesson 1 and just follow the instructions. And it says, read chapter 1, you know, the first part of Evie and the Secret of Small Things. And here's discussion questions. And here's an art activity that you guys can do while you're listening, or your kids can do while you're listening, you know. So then lesson 2 and 3 will take that reading and unpack it and have assignments and have activities. And then maybe lesson 4, you read another chapter of the book. So totally open and go, walks you through it. And I'm so pleased because homeschoolers, people who are real fooders, people who have taken their health, have taken a very active role in their health, are very discriminate and they're very picky and they know what they like and they know what they don't like. And I have been so thankful and so elated that it's been very well received. And that means a lot to me because it's meant to be a service. And it is. I think it really is helping and blessing lives. That means a lot.
I am so excited about this. I remember you and I started talking about this long time ago, and you were telling me, and I'm like, yes, you totally have to do this, and it's going to be great. And I knew it was going to be big for people because this is the kind of thing homeschooling moms want. But the thing is, it's cool about it is it doesn't have to just be for homeschooling moms because it, you know, it doesn't take like a whole day or, you know, it's just you can do it in short little spurts and you can teach any kid this stuff, and starting them early is so important. I wish that I had known all this, you know, so many things, like you look back and you wish you would have known or wish you would have had certain, you know, resources and stuff. So I've just had to slowly kind of bring my kids around as I use it on them, you know. But this would have been great if I'd had it when they were real little and started them off. But like you said, you can start at any time with your curriculum. So yeah. I love that you're doing this, Paola. So
you were in the focus group, Kelly. Don't forget. Like you.
No, I do. Of course I remember it because I was reading. I'm like, yes, this is so good. Oh, and I love the music that you made to go with it to have it stick in their heads, because that always helps things to stick in their heads with music. And so you have it broken down though, like remind me how you have it broken down, like as far as age groups, like you have it set for, is it like elementary and then high school, or how did you do that? I forgot.
Yeah, so like the one-room schoolhouse approach, I think, is not super familiar to people. So you have the storybook that's kind of ages 6 to 96. You have the teacher's manual that's standard for the whole family. But when it comes time to give it an assignment to kids, like what I did is I made 3 leveled workbooks. Level 1 is for grades 1 through 3, level 2, 4 through 8, level 3, 9 through 12. So, you know, you'll teach the lesson, and like here's a great example. One of the first lessons, kids are thinking about the side effects of drugs because kids don't understand this. They don't know. You know, it's hard for my kid to believe that a doctor would prescribe something that could actually kill you. Like that's really familiar to us as adults, but kids don't get that. They don't get that. So you have to set the stage. So we don't just jump right into homeopathy. We start with some of these foundational principles. So for the level 1 kids, I provide them a simplified, paraphrased drug label of acetaminophen, and the kids get to color in the side effects in this little human body outline. The middle-aged kids actually get the original drug label of Tylenol, but I've also added ibuprofen and aspirin, and they do a little polypharmacy because often doctors prescribe multiple drugs, and they put all the side effects that they want into the one little human body outline. And then the high school kids, you know, I bring them to that level. Adults, your doctor prescribes you something. What do? You sit your butt down in a chair and you research it and you learn the side effects for yourself. And I did also do a human body outline for them because I feel like high school kids don't have an opportunity to do some artwork like they really should. But I gave them the anatomical position, and we talk a little bit about how the human body and anatomy has the anatomical position, why that's important. So you see, it's the same assignment. You're teaching the same lesson across all age levels, but it's instantly pre-baked for the 3 different levels to help them get the meaning out of it.
That is so perfect. I love it so much. So I will have a link with this video so you guys know how you can get this curriculum from Paola. And so I know you mentioned, you know, your work, your advocacy work. So tell us a little more about how in the world did you get that job? And what kind of stuff do you do? Oh, and can we talk about the thing in DC this spring?
Yes.
Okay, totally. So let's go to that after you tell us more about your work.
That's cool. Well, first I just want to say you have that coupon that people can use to get the curriculum.
Yep.
So maybe put it in the post here.
I'll put that with this. Yep.
We love to save money. Okay, so Americans for Homeopathy Choice was created by mothers. I know for a fact that if I knew what I would go through as president of this organization, I wouldn't have done it if I had known ahead of time. It's been a really intense ride.
Because it's so much work, or because it's stressful, or like what?
All of the above. It's stressful, political, it's a lot of work, it's taxing on my family, myself, and all of the volunteers that support Homeopathy Choice. It's really intense. 2017, the FDA released what's called a draft guidance. So it's in draft form, and it's a guidance document that basically says, we, the FDA, interpret the law as X. Therefore, we, the FDA, are going to treat this issue like this. So it's kind of like, think about like the law, how sometimes it's specific, but it's not super specific. And then a police officer goes and reads the law, like, what is speeding? It says no speeding. Does it mean 12 or 100 miles an hour? So these agencies are supposed to release these guidance document that says, this is how we interpret the law. And they're supposed to interpret it how Congress intended it to be interpreted. Well, what's concerning about the FDA is what they've done is they've so drastically changed their treatment of homeopathy that it requires a law to be made for them to interpret the law how they did. And that's really concerning to us because what it means is that the FDA is basically passing a law without the legal process. They're basically releasing a guidance that will treat homeopathy as illegal. They say, we're not saying homeopathy is illegal because we're not making a legal statement. We're just saying that we're going to treat it as if it's illegal. What's the difference?
Right.
I read the guidance and I did not like what I read. I'm not an attorney or anything, but I did not like what I saw. And I said, this feels like it's the beginning of the end for homeopathy. And right now we have submitted a citizen's petition to the FDA. This is a legal process. It's not like, oh, get 1,000 signatures and then someone will listen to us. No, it's a legal process through the Administrative Procedures Act. We need 100,000 comments. If you go to homeopathychoice.org, right there on the homepage, you can comment. We're doing a very aggressive campaign. We're officially starting October 1st. And so that's in, 5 minutes here, I feel like. And yeah, we need comments to go in there because when we speak to Congress or when we speak to a judge, if we ever take it to the courts, the number of comments really does indicate the consumer interest in this. And, you have friends, maybe they don't really do homeopathy, but they're pretty cool with the fact that you do it and they're happy to submit a comment. You just go to homeopathychoice.org. It's all pre-filled. You just put in your name.
It's really fast, which I love. It's fast and easy. I'll put a link for that too with us.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
So
okay.
That's where we're at. Yeah.
So this has taken so much of your time to fight this for us. And I'm so grateful and so the least we can do is go leave a little comment.
Right. That is right. I mean, I can only go as far as y'all let me. And right now I need to get to 100,000 comments by December 2nd.
Okay. And how many do we have now?
Well, we have like 5, like not very many.
Oh.
We're just launching the campaign.
Oh, right. Okay. And the other way that you can help support Paola and her work is to get her curriculum. So, I mean, it's always good to support these people that are doing so much for us. So tell us so let me just preface this by saying, when I was a little girl, I loved the Bionic Woman. I mean, I wanted to be her, of course, because of all her like special little powers or whatever. but I had the doll and I had the little set that went with it. And I just love the love story with her and what's his name, Steve. And
Yeah.
I mean, I loved her for years. And of course I watched every show. So tell us what that has to do with homeopathy, Paula.
That's right. So her name's Lindsay Wagner, and she's a big proponent of homeopathy. She's still an actress today. She is famously known for her role in Bionic Woman in the 70s, but she's, like on Grey's Anatomy, like I'm sure people have seen her, like, oh, that's Lindsay Wagner from, when I used to watch that show. So she's a big proponent of homeopathy. So we're having, aside from getting comments into the FDA, like that's a quick thing that you can do and you should do to support homeopathy. But aside from that, we are have a very organized effort to connect with Congress and to get them to listen to our pleas, and that's through our homeopathy action team. And we have like 33 state captains. We're trying to get all 50 state captains there. The state captains have district leaders that are in charge of their congressional districts, and we're working really hard on building this fantastic grassroots program. We need that to start now, because we're giving you guys like copy and paste this email, send it to your staffer, but like fill in your name and stuff, or your little bit of info, but develop a relationship with your staffer. And this is basically grassroots lobbying that we're doing to get them to care and be involved with homeopathy. And so what we're doing is we want you guys joining. It's like 2 hours a month tops. And we have, things that you can do for less time if you don't have 2 hours a month. But we're building up to this culminating event in DC that we're having. This event in DC, we are going to have a fly-in event where we're all coming to DC. We're going to meet with our representatives. We're going to have appointments pre-scheduled, and our closing ceremonies is going to be at a really cool location that I'm not announcing until it's totally signed and done. It's just COVID's made things slow. But Lindsay Wagner, she is going to be there, and she's going to be speaking to us, and it's going to be really fantastic. And it's just, these fly-in events, I want it to be like a really positive experience. Actually, also, you'll think this is really interesting, but so the event starts April 21st. Let me double check because I'm terrible with dates. But the event starts April 21st, and let me triple check. March, April. Yep. April 21st, and we have an early arrivals program where on April 21st in the morning we're getting a bus and we're going to see the Samuel Hahnemann Monument in DC, and then we're going to visit Sally Fallon's farm.
Oh, really fun.
Yeah, and we're going to have lunch there, and then we'll get back to the hotel, which is on the Virginia side. And we're going to have our training, and then the next morning we wake up and we go to DC, and then we'll have our appointments, and then that evening closing ceremonies is when Lindsay Wagner comes. So it's going to be kind of a fun.
Right. Oh, this is so fun, Paola. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and for chatting as always. We could go on for hours, but we both have more appointments coming up. So yeah, and I'll put all the links below for everything that we talked about. And I'm going to be showing this to my homeopathy classes that are coming up. And hopefully, everyone with kids will consider getting your curriculum, because I think it's going to be awesome. What a great way for parents to pass this on. We have to pass this on. So it, not only the advocacy work, help with that, but tell our kids about it.
That's right. That's right. It's all about growing generations of health. That's the way to see it. So,
all right. Thanks so much, Paola.
Thank you. We'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.